Hey everybody, this is Paul, and as you can see, these plants are happy. Now, this is the results of my experiment, and I'm going to teach you how I make my version 2 growing media now that I've been spending this season working with VermisTerra. Now, first off the bat, I didn't believe that this would work, but they proved me wrong. This is 3 parts coconut coir to 1 part earthworm castings. And the Lisa is just as large as the other cuttings with new growth, as you can see, compared to my soil mixtures. So wow, that's pretty cool. 2 ingredients in that growing media, and these plants seem happy. Now, in addition, I also tried to root these really young, immature condor cuttings, which normally sometimes will rot. People would say, hey, they would never recommend or sell these, so don't ever buy dragon fruit cuttings this size, please. I mean, if they give them to you, that's fine. But look, I got them to root. So that's just coconut coir and earthworm castings. And these are my growing media. So in just 4 weeks, they've all rooted, and they're doing great. They're plumping up already. So let me go show you how and why I've revised my soil mix. So basically, this is what it looks like when it's done. The only problem is I cannot hunt down any pumice. I like to add a little bit of pumice. I can't source it anywhere. I guess it's a supply chain issue or something. So here we go. Let me show you how to do this. Now, first you got to take your coconut coir and make sure it's ready for plant material and has all 3 parts: the pith, the husk, and the chips. And you get it wet and then get it nice and broken down like that. That's your first step. Step 2, I'm going to add plenty of worm castings to this. About 3 to 1, maybe 4 parts to 1 or so. Remember, you don't want to breathe any of this, so I like to just let it kind of dissipate. All right. Okay, so you don't breathe that. That's step 1. Next, you add some perlite. Make sure it's OMRI certified or organic. And you actually probably should rinse it out beforehand, but today I'm not going to do that. But this is really good stuff. I believe it's been cleaned, but it is a good rule to wash your perlite. Okay, next I'm going to add some vermiculite. This will add soil moisture retention. It will keep your soil loose and definitely add some minor trace minerals and nutrients. So that's the next step. Okay, so now the most critical step is using a high quality potting soil. I really like Happy Frog's potting soil by FOXFARMS. That's what I use. Here we go. I like to make it about 50%, 50-50. That should be good. All right, so here is my tool of choice. And again, you don't want to breathe this. I'm gonna be holding my breath and walking away. It looks weird, but people have died from inhaling I guess the mushrooms and fungi that are in maybe potting soil that sat in the sun. So be careful when working with it. And again, wear a mask or hold your breath like I do. Whew, so there you go. That's what it looks like. Dry. And I honestly can set wet cuttings into this if I keep it out of the water in full shade, and it will not rot them. And then after about a week, 10 days, I start watering them lightly on the plant flesh and they'll root. Not a problem. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe, and hopefully you'll give our growing media a shot for dragon fruit. I do recommend a slightly different mixture for Solanaceae or yellow-skinned varieties, especially the Megalanthus, because they have slightly different root and soil needs, slightly different biology. All right, and now the why. So this is Paul H. Thomson's book, Pitaya, A Promising New Crop for Southern California, pages 19 through 21. It was written in 2002 and is currently out of print, sad to say. So he calls it culture. Now you can see my logic of using perlite, pumice, and vermiculite, because he noticed that a sandy loam with good drainage is best for dragon fruit. Heavier soils, dragon fruit plants are going to grow slowly the first year, and they'll pick up after the second and third year. And he also noticed that they will flower later in heavier soils, but by 4 years, they'll do fine. He also noticed that, or observed that, some species could tolerate those heavier soils better than others, and specifically Solanaceae megalanthus, which is a yellow skin variety. He said it did horrible in a heavier soil. So he thought that Hyloceres is much more tolerant of soil and differences to soil than Solanaceae, I'm inferring. And so I'm wondering, what about hybrids? What about giant Pelora? What about some of those other varieties that are very unique? How do they do in different types of soil? So he also talks about amending the soil with organic matter, which is what we totally are all about here. He used humus and green manure, and he also used pine shavings. Now, I've experimented with pine shavings. I'm not a very big fan, to be honest with you. Now, what he did is he liked to use a light mulch of the shavings. He thought it was great, and I think his logic is great here because he knew that dragon fruit plants need a pH soil, a balance. The soil should be a pH of 6.5 to 7.5. So it looks like neutral. 7.0 would be ideal. So he saw alkaline soils like above 7.5, they're going to be stunting the growth. In addition, if you use acidic soil below 6.5, that's going to stunt growth as well and affect nutrient uptake, meaning your plants could be more yellow, could get spotting and even some browning on traditional plants. I would say with dragon fruit, you'd probably get yellowing. Now, he also talked about a grower using cow manure and redwood shavings, and it said satisfactory growth. Now, you can see why I'm amending my FOXFARMS soil. FOXFARMS soil is a pH between 6.3 and 6.8, so slightly acidic, which is good for most plants, especially like blueberries. But here, that might be a little bit of variation. So that's why I like to add the coconut coir to add aeration, drainage, and to bring up this pH level to my FOXFARMS soil. So let's talk about fertilizing now. Paul Thomson had literature from Colombia and Mexico, and they used chicken manure to supplement their fertilizer, but didn't ever mention chemical fertilizer. Now, he had great success using chicken manure, and he also would use it green or hot or fresh, and would apply a layer of shavings around the plant before he put on the chicken manure, which is pretty great, interesting strategy. However, this is not for me because chicken manure is really great, high in nitrogen, but it can lure pests like grubs or those Japanese beetles into your soil, and it can actually be harmful to the biology of your soil over time, from what I've been learning and reading. Now, he also used fertilizers, 2 other types, twice a year. Well, actually 3 other types we'll talk about in a second. But he used fish emulsion and kelp or seaweed, and had great micronutrients, which I agree, and low NPK. So this is very similar to the earthworm castings I'm using. Now, he tells you the amount he uses as well, and to apply it in wet soil, which is great advice because that's going to penetrate the soil easily. Now, during the year 2000, which is right towards the end of his life, I believe, he was introduced to this organic fertilizer. It was like cricket castings, basically. And he said it was very, very hot and would burn the plants.
basically lived near a farm, and he wet it down and would kind of let it age for a bit. So to me, I'm thinking I want to absolutely going to continue to use earthworm castings. But if I need some more nutrients because they're going to be leached out over time from the FOXFARMS soil, I'm going to work with some organic bat guano. Because, I mean, if you think about it, dragon fruit are pollinated with bats, so it would make sense that bat guano would be really great for their biology. That's what I'm going to assume. So I'm going to work on that next season. Now, getting back to him, sorry about that. He liked to mix these cricket castings with wood chips, and look at his mixture here. He used 50% cricket mix, 25% mushroom compost, 25% aged chicken manure, which is what I was using, and there was no soil at all. And he said the Hylo series plants, it was truly phenomenal. And he'd recommend using this organic cricket fertilizer, which I can't find anywhere. But I'm awfully glad. I think, in my opinion, I would assume that earthworm castings would be equally as great, if not better, because they're both decomposers, crickets and earthworms. Now, he did use chemical fertilizers. He did apply Miracle Grow. You can see it's really high in the P number for phosphorus. And also, he said it did seem to help with flowering. So, in summary, it almost seems like his book, he's learned that using these organic mixtures were really amazing. He says phenomenal growth. So I hope this makes sense to some of the logic and background behind our soil mixture. And I expect great things from the future. However, next season, as the plants mature and those nutrients continue to leach out of our soil, I will need to top dress and amend with some sort of organic fertilizer. So I'm really excited to experiment with this in the future. All right, give us a like, subscribe, have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.